All right, good morning or good afternoon, depending on when you are hearing this. So, today we're going to be talking about political ideology. So, we've talked kind of about the political spectrum, but we're going to dive in a little bit deeper today on political ideology. And the question I really want you to be thinking about is how do voters formulate their own political ideology? How do they form their own political ideas? Okay, and so think about this. I mean, many of you are going to be voting soon. So think about what sorts of things influence your own opinions about politics. Are you ambivalent towards them? Do you care? Do you kind of listen to what your parents say and then you say the same thing? Do you echo what your friends say, or do you kind of do your own research and make your own opinion? So think about again how you formulate your own political ideas. So, we are going to be following along with the 4.3 political party worksheet. This is in Canvas. And so, we're going to first talk about what is a political party. So, what is a political party? And a political party is just a group of people with common interests. Now, you may be wondering, how do you become a member of that political party? And all you have to do is declare yourself a member when you register to vote. So, if you want to be a registered Republican, when you go to cast your ballot, you will simply check the box for Republican or Democrat. And it's really as easy as that. So, political parties have several different functions. The first thing, and probably the biggest thing, is they nominate candidates that we see kind of on the forefront of politics. Okay. They inform the voters, they ensure that candidates are qualified, they vet them, they help govern in Congress and state legislatures. They act as watchdogs, especially of officials of other parties. Okay. So all of these people of political parties, okay, they kind of put together, and remember these vocabulary terms, they put together the platform and the planks of the political parties, and they make sure that the elected officials of that party follow those platforms and planks. So we've talked about these before. So yesterday we also saw these kind of side by side political or party comparison chart. So we're going to go through these together. So for economic issues, you see here that the Democrats and the Republicans have a little bit of a difference of opinion on kind of what that looks like. So Democrats favor higher minimum wages and are for progressive taxation. And that means that the taxes should be set on how much you make. So if you make $5, your taxes should be based on you making $5. If you make $5 billion, your taxes should be based on you making $5 billion. The Republicans, okay, they believe that tax rates should be low for everyone, even if you make $5 billion, and that wages and how much money you make at work should be controlled by the market. Okay, by the market. For the military, again, these two parties have a difference of opinion. First off, the Democrats believe that we should spend less on military and limit our military action abroad. Also, they believe that we should use more money on peaceful things. Republicans, on the other hand, they believe that we should spend more money on the military so that our defense is always strong and ready to defend our country. Okay. For sexuality rights, the Democrats support same sex marriage and equality. Republicans disagree with same sex marriage and believe that marriage is between a man and a woman. Now, remember, not all Democrats feel this way, and not all Republicans feel this way. So, this is an issue that sort of is not consistent between the parties. Okay, it's not consistent. So, people kind of believe what they believe in terms of this, and it's not exactly party driven. Abortion. Same with sexuality rights. Abortion is a little bit more party centered, but not completely. So Democrats mostly believe in pro-choice, and they believe that it is up to the mother and should not, and abortion should not be illegal. Okay. And they have support for the case Roe v. Wade. Again, not all Democrats feel this way, but that seems to be kind of the similarity in the party. On the other hand, Republicans are pro life, and that means that they believe that abortion is considered murder and should be illegal. Again, not all Republicans feel this way, but these are sort of the similarities between how the people in each of these parties identify according to this issue. The death penalty. Many Democrats feel that the death penalty should be abolished. Republicans believe and support the death penalty, and they believe that criminals who commit capital crimes deserve the same treatment. So, Republicans for the death penalty, Democrats against the death penalty. Social issues. We have Democrats they are based on community and social responsibility. Okay, so social issues, based on community and social responsibility. And they believe that the role of the government is to assist with social issues. Republicans believe that social issues, and it's based on individual rights and justice. So remember, the biggest difference between Republicans and Democrats. Democrats favor intervention of the government into our normal everyday lives. Okay, so that often is equated with big government, whereas Republicans believe in limited to no intervention by the government in our day-to-day life. And so that sort of is equated with small government. So kind of thinking about what states really have a lot of power in our country. Democrats hold New York, California, Massachusetts, Washington. Generally, they are strongest in the North and West Coast states. And then Republicans, on the other hand, we're going to see them strongest in the South and the Midwest. So South Carolina, Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, places like that. And so a lot of times these are strongholds for for presidential elections when we're talking about the Electoral College. So some of the characteristics of each party. So the Democrats, their symbol is a donkey, and their color association is blue. For the Republicans, their symbol is the elephant, and their color association is red. So famous Democratic politicians, we have former President Barack Obama, we have House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, John F. Kennedy, Bill Clinton, Bernie Sanders, FDR, and Elizabeth Warren. On the Republican side, we have President Donald Trump, we have former President George W. Bush, John McCain, Ronald Reagan, Mitch McConnell, and Richard Nixon. So those are some of the famous politicians from each side. Now, I mean, think back now to our kind of early initial essential question, right? So if we're thinking about what sort of things influence our political ideas or our political ideology, we have to also take into consideration the news, right? The news. And so each news organization, just by virtue of who owns them, they have a either right-leaning or left-leaning bias, right? So here is kind of a list for you to look at as far as like where that list falls in terms of either Democrats or liberal or Republicans or conservative. So for example, if you really want to watch unbiased or read unbiased news, you should probably read The Economist. Okay, so it's right there in the middle. We know that NPR is a little to the left, about halfway over to the left. Okay, the yellow portion is considered more neutral, but obviously once you start getting to the left or the right, obviously that begins to break down a little bit. So on the right-hand side, we have the New York Post. We have the Weekly Standard. Way far right, we have Breitbart and Fox News. Way far left, we have MSNBC and BuzzFeed and the Huffington Post. So here, we have to remember kind of where we get our news. So if you subscribe to, news sources on the left or the right, it's also kind of a good idea to subscribe to the news source on the opposite end. So I like to really make sure that my news sources are well balanced. So I subscribe to Breitbart, um, to the National Review, to the Chicago Tribune, to BuzzFeed, to the Washington Post, to NPR. So I try to get my news to be as balanced as possible so that I'm getting the best information. And I think that's always a good rule of thumb. All right, our next issue is border control. So Democrats tend to be more lenient towards immigration, and they believe in easier paths to citizenship. Republicans, on the other hand, typically fight for tighter control and heavier restrictions on immigration. Gun control. Democrats generally believe that the Second Amendment is outdated and should at least be revised. They also believe in more thorough background checks before one is able to purchase a firearm. So Democrats don't necessarily believe that we shouldn't have the Second Amendment, but that it should not be a blanket um, availability to firearms no matter what. Republicans, on the other hand, believe in protecting the sanctity of the Second Amendment as it is written currently, and typically oppose bills that would tighten gun control in any way, including things like background checks. So that kind of sums up our notes for today. So for our assignment, what you're going to do is go to your 4.3 political ideology notes towards the bottom, and you are going to copy and paste the stuff at the bottom. And let me show you. All right. So hopefully you are taking notes. And now what we're going to do is you're going to use what you know and your research, and you're going to create a chart using the information provided. So at the very bottom of here, I have lots of kind of stances, and you are going to put these stances inside the box, whether the Democrats said them or whether the Republicans kind of believe that stance. Okay. So it's just kind of like that chart we made yesterday, but it's a little bit more in depth. So that will be our assignment for today. All right, guys, thanks so much, and I will talk to you tomorrow.